and I'm dating, I'm dating 4 people at the same time. I want to see where it goes. I want to see whether this is for me, When it gets to being serious, that's when I would start dropping those off. So before I tell you my opinion, hello and welcome to Future Husband Diaries. My name is Maya Svanda, and if you are a returning subscriber, thank you, girl. Thank you for following through. And I hope that you've been enjoying the content that we've been posting all this time. But if you are new, like, subscribe, and do not just leave that subscribe button in there. Subscribe and tell other people who you think will benefit from all of this. And you can go back and watch all the other episodes that you have had before. Tell us your comment, tell us what you think, share with us so that we can grow and we can have these discussions together. And I hope that you really enjoy this topic, because this topic is one thing that really touched me. So today I want us to talk about casual dating, situationships, dating with no marriage in sight, hookups, This is one thing that whenever we talk about it, Christians, we always say, no. We don't do this, we don't do this, we don't do this. But then we do not give a reason why we are saying we cannot do this. We do not give a reason why, if you just tell someone don't do this without, being specific about why you're saying no, or just say yes without why you're being specific, at the end of the day, people tend to rebel against whatever it is that you're going to have. So we're going to have that discussion. We are going to talk. This is what I think. This is just my opinion. It's not something that is set up there. It's not something that is set in stone. It's not like whatever I say, at some point I will not change my opinion. It might happen that I might change my opinion, That's how it is. We learn, we grow together, and we have these conversations so that at the end of the day, we all have that one thing that we have, and we really like where we are based, We are basing our lives on this, we're basing our lives on this. So we need to know in such a way that if someone comes and asks you, do you do this? Yes. Why? You know why, you have a reason for such. Or you do not, you have a reason why you do not do this, or you have a reason why you do this. At the end of the day, we just do not take someone else's belief as gospel. We have conversations, you take a stand and have that boundary that you have as a person and say, I do this because this and this and this. I do not do this because of this and this and this. So all of that can only be cultivated after having a real and open conversation. So I believe that we'll have that real and open discussion here, so that at the end of the day, you make up your own decision. I make up my own decision, right? Something that you can stand by, something that you're so sure, even if someone comes, and wakes you up in the middle of the night, you can still say, I believe in that. I used to have, whenever they were teaching you things, they teach you things in high school. My teacher used to say, if you really want to know that you truly believe in something, or you truly know something, even if someone wakes you up in the middle of the night and you're sleepy and you're disoriented, like you don't even know what is going on, and someone asks you, you can give that same answer, whether you're disoriented or you are still sober-minded, you still give that same answer. So at the end of the day, all of this, I believe, will be cultivated if we all have an open discussion and we talk about those things. So number one, I want us to just talk about casual dating. Before we get to the situationships, before we get to the other things, the hookups and all, let's talk about casual dating, right? Whenever we're looking at casual dating, most of the time, we usually say, as Christians, we do not date, we do courtship, right? So if you really want to know more about that, you can go back to the previous episode before this. I think that's when we really dived into, we're talking about flirting, right? Why you can say you can flirt or you don't flirt. That was a conversation that we had, right? But then when you're now talking about casual dating, That's when you say, I'm dating this person, I'm dating 4 people at the same time. I want to see where it goes. I want to see whether this is for me, When it gets to being serious, that's when I would start dropping those off. So before I tell you my opinion, let's talk about the two perspectives that are there. We have the societal norms that are there, this is normal in terms of society. And we have like the biblical teachings, the ones that we have at church, whenever you're like going to a conference, whenever you're going to that youth outing, the things that they tell you being based on biblical teachings. But then at the end of the day, some people go extreme either way. With societal norms, people get just start up doing it out of, it becomes even worse. And then even in the biblical sense, people just tend to be very rigid and frigid. Is it rigid? No, it's rigid. They tend to be rigid about it. So what is it that we're going to say? In societal norms, people will tell you, number one, it's normal, everyone is doing it. You can do it. Everyone is doing it. So what makes you so sure that you cannot do it? Number two, boundaries and what you're willing to look into. With societal norms, I'll tell you, no, you just need to have boundaries with such things. And then with casual dating, some will argue that it allows for personal growth and self-discovery. You can discover yourself as you discover, this one. Others argue that it's for personal growth. And then the other thing, those are like the pros that I could find when it comes to societal norms. And then the cons that are there is like they tends to be sometimes of objectifying. Like, I like him, I do not like him because of how he looks. I'm like, yes, and because of what? Because I'm just saying I'm casually dating, so I'm just going to look at the outward. Because if I'm going to be casually dating you, I'll not take the time to sit down and really, really know you, right? And then there tend to be like some kind of exploitation that can happen because people just want their need to be set. They just want their needs. You're only there to satisfy my needs, whatever, right? So with societal norms, especially when it comes to casual dating, you do not, as a Christian, you do not have to follow societal norms. I remember when I was young, my brother used to say, my brother was one person, just tell you things straight up, because it was like, I really want to be like part of those people. I want to be normal. Why am I not normal? Do you know what he said? It was like, when it comes to whether people measure whether you are normal or you're not normal, it's not anything grand or anything. It's just, if a lot of people are involved in that, then it turns to be normal, because it's sort of like a normal distribution curve, right? So if it's like a normal distribution curve, those who are the side, if they are few, a lot of people, then a few people on the other side. So those ones that tend to be like extremes, or those are the one side and the side. What society terms to be normal is, if a lot of people do it, then society will say it is normal, right? So, do you want to be part of the normal people? Do you want to be termed, part of all, you're part of the list, you're part of everything, like you do it exactly as other people, or do you want to stand out? I've lived my life in a way that I really want to stand out, not because so that people look at me, no. I want to stand out in such a way like I do not have to follow what a lot of people are doing. So, as a Christian girl out there, as a Christian woman out there, you do not have to follow societal norms. What is it that you can do? You can make up your own things, have your own boundaries. Like, especially when it comes to casual dating, right? I feel it sort of like degrades you as a person, because if you find out like I'm dating like 5 people at the same time, I'm like dating 3 people from the same church, like I want to see where it goes. No, like, first take the step and take the time out, Have one person that you're looking into at the same time, because you are not just dating for no objective, with no reason why you're doing this. As a Christian woman who has that dignity, who has that, that you are not just doing things just for because everyone else is doing it. You are doing it with a purpose in mind. You're doing it especially looking at something. Number one, if I am dating someone, I'm dating someone so that at some point I'll get into courtship. At some point, then I'll look into marriage, right? If then I am allowed to be just friends with people, I don't have to date them. The reason is, as a Christian woman, the norms or the societal norms or the things that people do when they're casually dating, people who hook up with those people, the boundaries that I have as a Christian I do not cross those boundaries. I do not do all of these things. Like, I don't just magically just hook up with people and then I feel okay about it. Because why? The beliefs that I have as a Christian woman, they are set in such a way that say, this I will not do, this I will not do. So if I do not hook up with people, then casually dating a lot of people at the same time is not something that I should really be doing. Because at the end of the day, I'll start to objectify people. Because if I'm casually dating, I'm like, I like you. Come into church, like, I like you. Without even knowing exactly who you are, I'll just say yes. We go, what? We date. Okay, this Monday I'm with this one, Tuesday I'm with this one, third. At the end of the day, no. I feel like what I need to do as a person, as a Christian woman, who has the beliefs that I have, the boundaries that I have, in order for me not to overly objectify people, in order for me not to have that kind of feeling whenever I look at people, I just see someone that I can casually date. In order to avoid all of that, the things that I should do is I will only date someone, one person at a time, right? So that I can see that relationship moving on to the next stage and moving on to the next stage and moving on to the next stage. But if I see right from the get-go, this is not something that will move from dating to courtship, then I immediately have to cut it off, because it's now going against the things that I believe. It's now going against the beliefs that I have. At the end of the day, it will really affect me, who I am as a person. So therefore, I will run away from that. I will not do that. So what I'm saying is, casually dating is not something that I will really do for myself. Casually dating is not something that I can do. I can't be going around dating people, dating this one, dating that one. No. But if I am dating someone, I can date one person and I see that there is a potential in this relationship for us to move on to courtship. There's a potential for us to move from courtship into like marriage stage. There's potential for all of that. If there is no one around me, I do not have to say I'm lonely and then I will just date anyone who comes along, just to fill in that gap. No. As a Christian woman, I know my beliefs. I know the things that I stand for. I know the things that I want out of life. So I'm going to stay. Even if I'm staying and I'm still single, that's okay. Even if I'm staying and I'm single, that's okay. I can stay as a single person. If there's no one that I see who's approaching me, there's no one that I see around me who I feel will click in that, in that level, I can stay and be single. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is we have made it, or we have looked at it in such a way that as a woman, you are always lonely when you're alone. So you have to be constantly having someone, even if that someone will be like, people will be like, no, like the one that I'm with now, is not. I'm just putting him close to me because I'm lonely. I feel like that's being not fair to the next person, because that person might be building castles in their head. The person might be thinking there is a future between the two of you. But then I know I'm not going to go into the next level with this person. I'm just keeping you close so that, I have someone to say good morning. I have someone to say what. that is not being fair as a Christian woman. You know the things that you believe in. You know the things that you want to achieve in life. That's just playing with people's hearts. Like that's trifling with hearts, and it is a sin of no small magnitude. So, casually dating someone and knowing exactly in my mind that I'll never move on to the next stage with the person that I'm with. That's trifling with that person's heart. That's breaking that person's heart in a way that I know, and it's like I'm being mean to that person on purpose. It's not like mean, but it's low-key mean to that person. I'm just stringing you along up until I find the right person, and then I'll move you away from that so that that person comes in. You are just a seat warmer. That is unfair as a Christian woman. That is something that you do not have to do. That's being low-key mean. So what is it that you have to do? Even if you can't find anyone, you think will click with, in like spiritual manner, intellectual manner, with what all these other types, right? That you feel like if I date this person, I can move on to the next part. You do not have to date. You are allowed to stay as a single Christian woman. It's okay. You can achieve the things that you want to achieve in life. The reason is most of us we are in a, people usually call it a waiting season. I do not like to call that a waiting season, because at the end of the day, people are like, I'm waiting, I'm sitting here, I'm waiting. No. You are in a season in your life. That is a season in your life. That is a single season that you are in your life. You are allowed to stay in that season. Enjoy the benefits of being single. Enjoy the benefits. What you do not have to go around breaking people's hearts because you are still, you're bored. You are like, I'm just waiting for the right person to come along. So I'll just be with those other people, and then you end up breaking their hearts. That is unfair to the next person. So that is something that I wouldn't do as a person, and I think that is something to really think about as a Christian woman. Is it something that you really, really would like to do, or is that low-key mean, right? So with casual dating, I feel like that is something that you have to look into and think about it. One person, there's nothing wrong with just being with one person at a certain time and being with someone that you're sure about. If you're not sure about it, just break it off and move on, right? You are allowed to have those things. And instead of just objectifying people and ranking the people that you have, like, oh, this is number one, I like this one, he's a minister of this, he's a minister of, like, those are boundaries that you shouldn't be crossing as a Christian woman. Those are boundaries that you really shouldn't be looking into as a Christian woman. The reason is, the God that you worship. The God that you worship, the things that you want to achieve in terms of spiritually, the growth that you want to have. Is that something that will make you grow? Is that something that will help you to achieve the goals, and be in heaven? Or is that one of those things that will mess up your character and make it in such a way that you do not get into heaven? That is something that you should be looking into. The reason why we are having all of these casual datings is because of the over-sexualized TVs. You might be watching things that are okay. Like these ads that come in, like ads just pass by. What we really should be careful about this, because like social media, everywhere we look these days, like everything is now being overly sexualized. And at the end of the day, we tend to follow the norm as people. We tend to look into it and start doing it. But then, is that something that is a biblical perspective? Is that who you are as a person? Is that something that will, number one, like when I was looking at the biblical perspective, is that something that will make you love and respect other people? Is that something that when you're looking at someone, you're like, yes, when they look at me, they see Christ in that. And are you maintaining the values and the boundaries that you have? And change is something that you have to look into yourself, and therefore affect the change that you want other people to have. You need to start with yourself. On the other hand, we tend to have, as Christians, we tend to have that conservative culture, or that kind of culture, like whenever you're looking into it, like I I call it the pick me culture. When someone comes to you just because they picked you, they're just asking you out, you just say yes, 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 without even, as a person looking into it, like, is this the person that I think he is? Because I've only ever seen him at Christian setups. I've never really seen him in any kind of aspect during the week. I've never met you. I've only met you during the weekend, and especially when you're just at church. But then we just like, he asked me out. I just say yes. He's a Christian person, so yes, yes. That pick me culture. You're always waiting. Like we're in a line. If he comes and just say, yeah, you, yes, 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 yes. So you are allowed to just go on a first date with that person and be like, I'm just going to go. I'm not really saying, yes, we can start a relationship or put a label on it, but I'm just going to see you at a setting which is a little bit different. We're just going to go and we have like a first date kind of thing. And we have like a conversation. I talk, I know who you are outside the church. I know your things, your beliefs, your what. At the end of the day, then I can make a decision so that we can put a label on that. You are allowed to have that first date, right? But don't let it go on for too long, like you've been going on with someone for like 5 dates. And then at the end of the day, you're like, no. What? So I'm like, I'm going with this one for 5 days. I'm going with this one for 5 days. I'm going with this one for 5 days. No, you are allowed to go to that first date with that person, have a setting which is different from wherever you are. And then you make a decision like, okay, you are someone that I feel we can continue, right? Then you can start putting labels on it. You can start putting what? Or after like the first days, be like, I understand we all go to the same church, we all have the same beliefs, but I feel like all the other things we do not click in that way. Therefore, I feel like, no, we can leave it here. You are allowed to have that. We do not have to have that pick me culture with such a way where if someone comes and asks you out, just because they picked you out of a whole list of like 20,000 people, then like, yes, 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 I found the one. No, have the things, set up your own things, your own checklist, your things that you look into. And therefore, that person should have the same boundaries. I'm not saying click in every aspect, but there are some things, that like foundation that you really should click on some level with, right? And you should really vibe in that aspect. I'm not saying like vibe with everyone, right? But I'm just saying those are the things that you can be able to see outside at a social setting, which is different from the church setting that we have. So therefore, we really need to have that. But then at the same time, like we've talked about casual dating, we've talked about, and then there are other aspects where you go on a date with that person and then you just continue to be in that talking stage, and then you end up finding yourself in a situationship with that person. I'm just saying, cut off that thing. If you found yourself in a situationship with someone and it's been going on for too long, please cut it off. The reason is, at the end of the day, number one, it's going to hurt you when that person invites you to their wedding. Because to you, you thought, you were waiting for us so that you get to a certain point. They were like, maybe you ask me out at some point. Maybe you just put a label on it at some point. You, girl, might be invited to that person's wedding at some point. So with situationships, sometimes we do not really realize that we're entering situationships, right? And it can happen. But then if you find yourself in that and you see that there is no hope in anything developing in that, you please cut it off. Because at the end of the day, it gives you false hope. All the other potentials that are out there, they're thinking maybe you're in a relationship with that person, then they go away, all of those things. And it's not good for you emotionally. Like, it will hurt you at some point. So with situationships, I feel like that is something that you really need to put a boundary on, girl. Put a boundary and say, you know what? I value myself more than to just be your talkmate. If you're friends, like, let it be just friends. But with situationships, it has that life flirting, it has a what, and it continues to go on even further. That is something that you do not have to do. That is something that is not healthy for you in any kind of way. So please cut it off. You're not auditioning to be in a relationship with someone. You are not going to sit there and hope that someday they will change their minds and then they'll say, I pick you. No, do not have that kind of mentality. You are a child of God, number one. If you're a child of God, you're highly favored. You're what? A person cannot just keep you on the side as a backup, that one day, if I do not find the person that I'm looking for, I'm just going to come back to you and then we can continue. You do not have to be a backup to someone. So what is it that you have to do? You have to, spread your wings and fly. Stay single. If you are staying single, be in a relationship with someone else. If you're in a relationship with someone, do not wait for that other person to pick you at some point. Do not have that pick me culture. Do not wait for someone to what. If that person is not willing, it's going to hurt at some point. But you do just have to what? Accept it and move on. It will happen. It will hurt. It will take time. It's not going to be something that will just happen instantly, but it's something that you can start working on yourself. And God is our anchor. God is the person that you're with. If you just tell it all to God and you ask him to help you out of that situation, I know he will, and he will never leave you alone. So the things that we can have, the reason why I'm saying you do not have to do that for yourself is you look at your life. You look at the boundaries that you want to set up. You look at the relationship that you want, the reputation that you want to build up as a person. Are the things that you're doing building up to the right kind of reputation that you want to have at some point? Are the things that you're doing now just making people not have some kind of, when they're looking at you, they think you do not have any dignity? What are the things, it's not about whether people look at me funny, but there are some things, they might not really be seen, but it makes other people look down on Christ because you call Christ, but the things that you're doing, and people like, if Christ is being called by such people, then at the end of the day, then we're not going to go into that Christianity. So the life that you're living should be an evangelism to other people. So the kind of dating that you're doing with other people, the kind of situationships that you're doing, if they look somewhat wrong, remove yourself from that situation. It's not just only for your reputation, but for the reputation of God. We do not have to make people look down on Christ because of the way that we are, because we want to have and satisfy that instant gratification. Because I know it's nice, especially when you're like, I was a little bit lonely. This person is just keeping me company. They call me at the end of the day, but I'm just blocking their way so that they do not move on to the person maybe that they might love or that they might I'm blocking their way because I just want to feel comfortable in that way. It's unfair to that person. It's something that you shouldn't be doing. So at the end of the day, make it straight, put it clear, put it out in the open, cut it off if you need to cut it off with some other people so that you have that free time to work on yourself. You work on that character, build yourself, take this season as a time in your life for you to say, I'm not going to be, because all the people that are approaching me are not the people that I want to be with. That's okay. So now I'm just going to focus on myself. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to grow spiritually. I'm going to grow this way. I'm going to work on my schooling. I'm going to work. I'm going to build this. You'll be surprised the kind of things that you can still build. Do not stay as if you're in a waiting season or you're just waiting for this to come along. You find yourself, you've been waiting for like 5 years. At the end of the day, nothing has happened. So cut it off if you need to cut it off. And then move on if you need to move on. And put it up in a way that, yeah, I really like this. I really like the person that I'm, even if like the kind of person that I portray to other people, this is something that I'm really comfortable with. Because number one, God gave us free will. So give the people around you that free will to, if you're not choosing them, that choice to say, okay, you're not choosing them. If they're not really choosing you, they can move on and choose other people. So that's what we really should be doing. Because at the end of the day, it makes us look dishonest if we are just hovering people around us, just keeping them as comfort people all around us. So that is something that you have to look into, and that, allow yourself that date to go outside and look at other people, have those first dates with other people so that you can see whether it's something that can go on further or something that cannot go on further. But then at the same time, do not let it go on too long. Do not string people along. If you find out that it's something that you cannot move on with, cut it off. Let them move on and you move on peacefully. And you do not have anything that will attach you, and do not have anything whenever people are looking at you and be like, there's nothing wrong that they can find about you. So that's all that I had to say about this. So tell us, what are your thoughts? What are the things that you think we need to improve on? How should we build ourselves up as women and build that reputation for us and for Christ in such a way that people do not look down on us and do not look down on Christ, but then at the same time, we are making sure that we are being consistent in our thing, and we are opening up ourselves so that we either have that relationship or we do not have that relationship. But then at the end of the day, we are growing in Christ. So that's all that we had for you today. You are not auditioning to be with anyone, and if it so happens that you have to cut it off, make sure that you cut it off with anyone. Like, subscribe, and share it with other people that you think will benefit from this discussion, and share us and tell us your thoughts, what you think we should be saying or what we think we should be doing, and in such a way that we build up our reputation and we build up the reputation of Christ. That's all that we had for you today. See you next time. Bye.